Hi, my name's Chris Thomas and welcome to the third DVD in our Particle Flow Fundamentals series. In this DVD we're going to cover the final three sets of particle flow operators. The first of these sets deals with operators that create a geometry shape for your particles to show in the viewport and, if desired, to use at render time. The second set deals with the various methods for texturing and mapping these shapes. The final is a collection of miscellaneous operators that does not fit into any of the other sets that we cover in this and previous DVDs in this series. Hopefully by now you will have viewed Operators 1. This DVD covers the first three sets of operators, i.e. birth and death, transforms and speed. If you haven't viewed this DVD already, I'd highly recommend viewing that DVD first, as there is of course a natural progression that follows from set to set in the series. Also, it's highly recommended that you have viewed the first DVD in the Particle Flow Basics series, Principles and Workflow, as this will have given you the grounding in particle flow that you will need to make the most out of this DVD. Before moving on to Chapter 1, let's have a quick look at the topics we will cover in this DVD. In Chapter 1, we'll have a look at the shape operator, which is used to apply and supply basic shapes for your particles. Generally, you won't use the shape operator for your final renders, but it can be useful when you're building up your particle flow. The shape facing operator is used to create planes that face towards the camera. And this is useful for creating things like snowflakes or maybe particles with special images mapped onto them. The shape instance operator is used to use quite complex geometry that you may have already produced, and it's a very flexible operator and it can work with hierarchies and also animated shapes and so on. The final chapter in the shape set is the shape mark chapter, and this deals with another shape that is similar actually in some ways to shape facing, but in this case it creates geometry that can be used to map things like bullet holes and other such shapes onto a surface, and it will actually conform the shape onto the surface that you've collided with. From there we move on to the material set, the first chapter of which is material static, which will apply a material to your objects which is, as it says, static. It doesn't actually animate in any way. We have material dynamic, which is the operator that you can use to apply animated materials to your particles. You have material frequency, which is an operator which deals with applying different material IDs to your particles, and you can use this operator to work out various proportions of those IDs. And finally in this set we have the mapping operator, which as you can imagine is used to modify the UV mapping of your particles. The final set in the DVD is the other set, and this is a main miscellaneous grouping of different operators. The first one is cache, and this can be used to store the performance of your particles in memory, and is a great aid in accelerating the playback and the interactivity of your particles when you have very dense scenes, and this is quite a key operator. We have the display operator, which is used to display your particles in the viewport, and if you can think of it this way, you can actually have a shape operator which will make your particles appear in the render, and you have a display operator, and that's for making your particles appear in the viewport, and the display and the shape operator work together in concert. You have the note operator, which is a very simple operator. That's just used for actually storing notes that you may want to actually put into a particle flow to remind yourself later. It's a bit like putting comments into a script or any other sort of programming language, just to give you a reminder of what exactly your particle flow is doing at that point. You have the force operator, which I'll give you a quick run through here, but which is covered actually much more completely in DVD 4 in the series. We have the render operator, which is used to actually define how your particles will render at render time. And by that I don't mean necessarily what shape they will be. That's actually handled by the various shape operators. By that I mean, will your particles render? Or will they output phantom geometry, which can be used by third-party rendering systems to create volumetric effects and so on? Or will it actually render out geometry in concert with a shape operator? And the final operator in this DVD we'll be looking at is the script operator, and we'll have a quick run through of that, and then we'll conclude this DVD. Okay, let's move on and have a look at the shape operators.